So hi, my name is Gio. So I did my undergrad at McGill in immunology. So I was in the IHI program. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about international research experience. So I did a research project abroad. So I'll talk to you about that in a bit. And just a little disclaimer before I start, the presentation is based a lot on my own advice and my personal experiences. And there's a lot of different ways to go about doing research abroad. So this is just based on my experiences. So where to start? I guess the first step is to decide that you want to go abroad. I know this seems quite trivial, but there are some things to take into consideration, and I'll go into more detail in a bit. Second step is to start looking for programs and compiling lists of programs that you're eligible for as early as possible. So I guess you guys are here. This is a good first step. I personally started around like Christmas break, so you're still early, but I would start as early as possible. And then step 3 obviously is apply, and step 4 is, well, travel and have a good time. Obviously with COVID, we don't really know the situation of things and if people are going to be able to travel abroad, but hopefully we will soon. So to get started, things to consider before deciding to go abroad. First thing would be that if you're in a program that requires you to stay in Montreal over the summer, obviously that would be a little bit difficult. What I mean by that is, for example, if you need to do summer school, or if you're working in the lab and your PI needs you to stay here over the summer to work, then obviously those are things you need to consider before going ahead and looking for programs abroad. A second point would be any major exams that you may want to take. So for example, the MCAT, the GRE, the LSAT, any like of those big exams you might need for future studies. Usually summer is a good time to take them because you don't have courses and other stuff to deal with as well. So that's something to take into consideration in terms of like timing of when you want to go abroad. And then finally, which was the main thing for me, was if you get bored of the same environment quite easily. So I knew what lab I was going to be working in for my last year. Everything was already set up, and I wanted a change of pace before like getting into the same routine. So I think that's a main thing to consider if you want to go abroad. And then a few things to consider in picking programs. So obviously these are just a few things I'm telling you to look for, like when you're looking for programs to apply to. So first of all, if they provide accommodation, if you're going to be getting paid, and if you have to find your own prof. So some programs provide accommodation like as part of the application, and others you're going to have to look for a place to stay by yourself, which is obviously something that's a little bit more difficult, so to be taken into consideration. And then if you're going to be getting paid, different programs have different like formulas kind of. So some of them can give you a stipend, others can just fund the research, but not necessarily the accommodation or the food. So that's something to look into. And then finally, if you have to find your own prof, some programs, it's like an automatic matching. So they match you with a prof if you get into the program. Others, you have to contact profs. So that's obviously important because then you'd have to start emailing profs and looking for research projects on your own before applying to these programs. So now a little bit about more specific programs. This was my personal list of international research opportunities that I applied to. So obviously I did lots and lots of searching. I went on the McGill website has a lot of different resources for like finding programs abroad. I basically went through like 10 pages on Google, like, you know, at the bottom when you click. I just really looked a lot all over for different programs and narrowed it down to a few that I was, first of all, eligible for. Second of all, like met all my criterias in terms of accommodation, stipend, and all that. So the 4 that I applied to were first the EPFL life science program in Lausanne, so Switzerland. And then I also applied to the Vienna Biocenter. I applied to the Rockefeller Institute in New York, and then the BUS program in Zurich, so also in Switzerland. So once you found your list of programs you want to apply to, obviously the next step is to fill out the application. So a lot of these programs require reference letters, letters of motivation, application forms to fill out. Sometimes you need to send over documents to these people. So that's why it's really important to get started as soon as you can. Usually this information is like online, like always. So if you want to start looking from now and preparing your stuff so that once time comes like to apply, you have everything ready. I think that that's obviously very useful. And then just a little note on planning for any outcome. I think this is super important because, first of all, if you're already in a lab here, which was the case for me, you would have to speak to your supervisor and just let them know that you're applying abroad and that you might be going away for the summer. That's super important to discuss with them, to figure out like if you can work with them again when you get back, or different accommodations. And then a second thing is, if you're sure that you want to do research during the summer, I personally wouldn't bet on just international opportunities, because obviously it would be really, really cool, but there are limited spots in all these programs. So if you don't end up getting into a program abroad, you don't want to end up like not having any research opportunities at all for the summer. So that's why I put here to maybe have a backup plan, which also includes like talking to PIs here and figuring out if there's alternatives in case things don't work out. And then finally, don't get discouraged if things don't work out right away. Like I said, applied to 4 programs, and throughout like the winter semester, I'd heard back from the first 3, and all of them refused me like right away. I didn't even get past like the first stage of applications. So I was really, really disappointed, and I completely given up on going abroad. I was like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna stay in Montreal. But then last minute, I got into the program in Zurich. So this is just to say, apply to as many programs as you can, because you never know which one is going to work out. So now I know we're running a little bit late, so I'm going to go over this quickly. Just a little bit about the program that I went to, because I really loved it, and in case any of you want to apply to it, so I'll give you a bit of information about it. So my program was affiliated with the University of Zurich. So in Zurich, which is a beautiful city. It's called the Biology Undergraduate Summer School, and it covered my plane ticket, my accommodation in Switzerland, and a 3-day retreat in the Swiss countryside, which was really, really nice. Another like big pro for research abroad is that you get to travel around, which is really, really cool, because I mean, I love research, but I also wanted to have fun during the summer, so this is the perfect way to do both. And then finally, the program paired me with a lab through like the program. So basically I just told them what I was interested in, which was infectious diseases, virology, just like broad topics. And they paired me with a lab that was looking for a student for the summer. So that was really convenient because I didn't have to do anything on my end. All I had to do was just apply to the program. So now just to end, a few pros and cons. So pros, obviously cool research, lots of fun, and you get to do both at the same time. You get to discover a new country, a new region, especially in Europe. It's super easy to travel around, like between the different countries. I got to go all over Switzerland, even go to different countries. So it was a lot of fun. Get out of your routine, as I said, and meet people from all over the world. Just a little note on that. This one is super important. You get to make so many connections. For example, when I was in Switzerland, I met this girl from Serbia, and we became really, really close friends. And she ended up applying to a program at McGill and is now doing her master's here. So it's really cool. You get to meet people from all over and make really good connections. And then finally, a few cons. I mean, honestly, the main one is just it can be costly. So that's why it's important to figure out like the different stipend situations. And then the last one is that you don't get a head start like here in Montreal. For example, some programs, like if you're doing an honors program, sometimes the PIs let you get started on your project over the summer. And I don't personally think it's a con, because a lot of people in my program started over the summer, some of them didn't. At the end of the day, you end up like finishing the program at the same time, but it's a personal decision that you need to think about when applying abroad, is that you're not going to be here over the summer to get started or like finish up on business before the new school year starts. So that's it for me. It's just a little bit of information on my experiences. Feel free to contact me. I put my Facebook and my email, really, if you have any questions. And I guess, I can't see the chat, but I guess if there are questions there, or if you want to email the club later, then I'd be happy to answer anything. And yeah, that's it for me.